join in on Zoom because there is COVID in his household. So,
It's COVID everywhere. It's spiking again.
yeah,
You got it.
but spiking at much lower levels than it did last year.
Well, it's not so anymore, the dangerous spiking.
No,
It's like a cold.
well, it's a little worse than I had COVID in last December and I was pretty sick.
I got it in July, the first time.
After pneumonia, I had pneumonia in July and then
Chris Wilson was going to try to dial in on our Zoom. Can you get Chris in on Zoom? He was going to dial in at 5 o'clock.
No idea. Good. I wouldn't have any information. That's cool. Very much. Only minutes. Months. Now here. I can look at it.
I will be.
There wasn't much to
no.
note.
I know, I was just giving you a minute to try and get the Zoom sorted out.
Our Zoom is sorted.
Oh,
I can't bring him on because
he hasn't signed in.
he hasn't signed.
Okay. Something may have held him up a little bit.
We'll watch. And if he joins, we'll let you know.
Okay.
No, if he comes in as an attendee, then we'll do an invite. Okay, just make sure you kind of watch to see if somebody else shows up. Yes.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Will the secretary call the roll?
Kathy Cavalier,
Present.
Tiffany DeMayo, present. Bonnie Stuckert,
Present.
Frank Falcone,
Present.
Dario.
Yeah, present.
Yes, thank you. Oh, sorry. Mine went a blank for a moment. Kenneth Lane, absent. Chris Wilson,
Oh, it looks like Chris is just signing in now.
yep.
Yep.
Working on being present.
I guess you may want to note that.
There he is. Chris Wilson, are you present?
Chris Wilson is present,
Thank you.
late
get-
but present,
Do we get to see you too?
if you like, probably.
There he is.
There you go.
I need more lights.
Now we know it's you.
Yes. Wonderful.
That is a
Thank you for dialing in,
antler behind you.
and I hope you continue to test negative.
I do. So far,
Knock on wood.
indeed.
Okay, shall we stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next item is to approve the agenda. And Steve, before we approve it, I've got a question about why land development review and future land development review appeared on it.
That's a good question. I would say that it probably appeared on it because the person forgot to take them off. In that we put them on in case you do have a land review that would come before you. But my guess is we just didn't remove them for this agenda.
Okay, can we just strike those two items?
Yeah, they're fine. Yep. There's
Okay.
nothing there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. People just go ahead and strike them. I don't think we need to vote on that.
No,
It's items 7 and 8. Okay, now having done that, will someone please motion to approve the agenda as it stands otherwise?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as it was.
Second,
Second.
okay. That's approved. There is no business, so we will proceed directly to old business. And the first, minutes. I'm sorry, Tiffany.
That's okay.
I think that's the second time you've had to remind me. The minutes from the last meeting. If anybody has any comments, speak now or forever hold your peace. And otherwise, would somebody please make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as they're written.
Somebody second?
I'll second.
Okay, so the minutes. Can all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are passed unanimously. Now we'll proceed to old business. And the first,
just for the record, I would make note that there was no public here to make public comment, just so it's on the record.
yeah, okay, just note that there was no public.
Noted.
So we'll proceed to old business. The first item is discussion and possible action on participation in the Garrett Williamson festival, Harvest Festival, which we started talking about last week. I got in contact with Giselle Cosentino at Garrett Williamson. She's the Director of Community Initiatives. And the information that I got from her says, if we want to participate, there is a computer-based form, which I have in my computer, that we have to fill out and return by October 2nd. So we have to make a final decision at this meeting, whether we're going to participate or not. And if we are, how we're going to handle it. The event runs from, it's on October 14th. And it runs from 11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. Setup has to be completed by 10:30 in the morning at the latest, because apparently people start arriving at that point. Kathy indicated that she can't be there, but that the Historical Society can make some toys and games available.
Some interactive things historically.
Yeah,
speaking.
yeah, right,
Yeah, name this item. I have it all. At
right.
The Mill House, if somebody
Yeah,
wants to do it.
I told Giselle when I emailed back and forth with her, that I wasn't sure the extent to which we could have any activities at our table, because we're not really set up for that. So Kathy came to the rescue courtesy of the Historical Society. So the question is, do we want to go ahead and do this? And if so, and Stephen, you may be part of this discussion. Who's going to staff it and run with it? Who's going to take responsibility for getting it set up? And I was not able to make the last committee on committees meeting, so I was not able to talk with the person who's the chairman of Parks and Rec. And I did not have any contact information for that person.
We can get you contact information for that. That's Wade, but,
So as
were you
part-
guys gonna share a table? Is that what you were thinking?
Well, I have no idea whether we can or not, because I couldn't talk to him.
Oh, okay. Are they gonna have a table there or?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what they're doing,
I got you.
but you had suggested that we contact them.
Yeah, I did. And so
Do you know what they're doing? Do you have any idea?
I don't, because I was not at their meeting. George covers their meeting. But I can hopefully find out.
Aren't they doing a township committee table, group table? Isn't that what Terry wrote us in the beginning?
She said we should look into the question of whether that was going to happen or not.
Oh, okay, so that wasn't like we're having a group table.
No.
Do you want to be part of it? Okay,
No, no.
that's because that's originally the impression I took.
And Giselle's email to me said that we could bring our own table and well, what she said was, yes, you may hand out materials, and I am hoping that the township has a table and a tent that can be borrowed for the event. Do you?
We do have a tent and I know we have a table. The only thing I don't know is it, I don't know that we have one that's foldable. And so it's an 8-foot table, but let me see what we can do.
And
Or a 6-foot table.
she suggested that we bring our own chairs.
Okay.
So the question is, do we want to do this and how are we going to staff it? Kathy can't be there that day and neither can I. So it would have to be among the remaining 4 of you. So give me some feedback, people.
I most likely would be available to staff that day.
Okay,
I will be there with my family at some point anyway.
okay. So Tiffany can help out. Chris, can you help out?
I question my mobility to be able to get around the farm. I don't know how it's going to be set up with the foot still kind of a mess. And what day is this?
It's a Saturday,
No, I mean, what is
14.
October 14th, I believe.
My understanding from years previous is that when you set up, you'll be able to pull up to the parking area where they set up all the tables. And then parking for all the guests is then in the field. But I imagine people are setting up tables or not walking their tables and tents all the way down there from. where the
I'm actually already booked on the 14th, so it's kind of an academic point as to whether I can.
But for anyone else who wanted,
I have a meeting. Oh.
Okay.
I have somebody I had to give my truck to, but it's earlier in the morning. I could be around for 10 o'clock. If she does a photo shoot with it,
Mhm.
I give her the truck and
And
I'm
Ken's
back at
not,
the end of the day.
Ken's not here, so we don't know whether he can participate or not. This is sounding kind of thin.
Yeah.
I mean, my feeling is maybe we should take a pass on it for this year.
Well, then we've have to, if we were going to do it, and even if we don't do it, we'd still have to talk about having brochures done by then anyway, or having some kind of.
Well, we need, I mean,
Material.
we, that's a separate item on our agenda. We need. We'll come to that. It's on the list.
Right.
I'm going to say that's probably not going to happen by the 14th.
The brochures, you mean?
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks away. 3 weeks.
Well, my own feeling as your fearless chairman is that we should pass up on this. But I would like to hear the rest of you express an opinion.
I don't think we're gonna be ready for it by the 14th.
Doesn't sound like there's enough interest in doing it and enough, we don't even
Availability.
understand if they're having a group table. And that was the original intent, and that was how I was asked. And so you would have been one of 5 groups there, the tree commission, park and rec. So you all would have been taking turns, or you just needed to be there to hand out one sheet. You know, we could have put that together, one of these, telling what we do, what we did about the ordinance, talking to people. So that was the idea, I think. It wasn't supposed to be so orchestrated, and somehow it got to where you had to be interactive and then have something that you did with the public. Well, that wasn't first put forward either. And I thought, okay, one table, how's everybody doing that? And I think it was our table, that your table and tent. And so it didn't get very clear.
Yeah,
And so I would pass on. That's my opinion. It
Mhm.
doesn't seem well thought through on that part.
I
So,
agree with that.
Sounds like a
was-
pass.
yeah.
yeah, okay. Does somebody want to make the motion that we not do it this year?
uh,
I'll make a motion that we don't do it this year to whatever it was.
And somebody second it, please?
I'll second it,
Okay,
whatever. it was.
Okay,
we're not prepared.
so the motion is that we not participate in the Garrett Williamson Harvest Festival this year. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Chris, did you say aye?
I thought I wasn't sure if I was speaking all that much. So
Okay, it's unanimous. We will pass up on that. Now, the next 2 items on the agenda really are, we're asking for updates from Stephen about these items. The update on the properties that we've already submitted, is anything moving there?
No action at this time.
And what about the changes to the ordinance, or the one change that the lawyer said could go forward?
Yeah, so that's, as I understand it, he's putting that in the actual format that has to go, and then it would go back to the board.
Do we have any time frame on that?
I do not. He's working on about 7 different ordinances. I don't know where this one's in the mix.
Okay.
I know that there's at least 2 that for the Environmental Advisory Commission that are being kind of like worked on. So I don't know where this one falls after that.
Mhm. Well, we'll stay tuned.
Do we have it? somehow, could we put it together, all the things that are waiting to be done? Like to refresh our memory, because I'm gonna forget. Like what the ordinance, exactly what we asked for, all those things, just so that we can see again how it is, that
Well, we
what we asked specifically, and
We-
because how it will come back. And
Well,
so
that's,
it becomes-
that's it, that's in our minutes of the earlier
Right.
meetings.
I was
But
looking at the
basically, the two changes that we asked for, one had to do with changing 28 days to 30 days.
Mhm.
And in one case, we can't do that because the 28 days is established by state law. And in the other case of the 28 days, we probably can change it to 30 if the supervisors approve. That was one of the ordinance changes. The other ordinance change was to enable us to designate class 1 properties,
Mhm.
propose them, because the way the ordinance is written right now, we have no ability to
Right.
propose class 1 properties. So that was the other change. Those were the two ordinance changes.
Right, and we have exact wording on those, so we know when it comes back. I'm just saying, I know that
We
sometimes they don't always,
suggested
yeah,
exact wording.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, we just have to sit tight and wait at this point.
right, okay.
And I believe from something Stephen said at one of our earlier meetings, I believe the attorney is going to recommend some changes of language. At least on one or the other of them, but I can't be any more precise than that. So,
That's my understanding as well.
yeah. So-
My understanding is the way the language was put together related to the commission. Recommending the class 1, he felt that it was probably more overarching than what the board of supervisors, the way it was written would be greater overarching than what the board of supervisors would agree to. I think it was written in such a way that it sounded, what came back as he interpreted it as an attorney was that you all were actually approving a class 1. And what I think you wanted was just to be able to recommend a class 1. And
Right.
so he was looking at that language to make sure that that was clear. That was the piece that he was concerned about.
Fair enough. Whoops. We were going to have a short meeting, but not that short.
Yeah.
When you don't move, the lights go out. Exactly.
We must not be.
Okay, so I guess we can move on. Discussion about marketing material subcommittee update. So Chris, I guess that's you and Tiffany.
Yep, you're on mute there, Phil.
Yeah, I muted so you wouldn't all hear me rustling around. I think right now the holdup is somewhat me. I let this month get away from me. I apologize. I am not exactly certain how we go about generating artwork or figuring out which content needs to go on brochures.
Well, write our own content. And the content should be written.
Yeah, I think it's more a matter of one or the both of us to put down some ideas. Have a either email discussion or a brief conversation together and then submit it to the committee for either more updates or approval.
Yeah, maybe the two of you could draft brochure text, not worry about the artwork for the moment.
Right, yeah.
But draft brochure text and bring a text draft to us at the next meeting.
Mhm.
And then once we've got the text, we can work on the artwork. I mean, I know Stephen says the township has a graphic designer that you use, right?
We do.
We also have a very good one that Dunwoody uses that I've worked with before. So I don't think it should be a problem to get the graphic design done.
Okay, we can start with that. I believe we had kind of agreed that we were going to initially work with the kind of classic trifold layout that is similar to the one that the Historic Society uses. rather than, getting into bigger, stranger layouts.
That was my understanding. Do
Okay.
you think we should formalize that with a motion just so that we get a record of that and that decision in the minutes?
Why don't we stay flexible at this point? Maybe, Tiffany, and I can talk about what we kind of want to put into it and what the text is, and then we can, think about, will this all fit on a trifold, which it probably should, but if it doesn't, then we have the flexibility to go to a 4-panel or more if needed.
Yeah. Well, my experience with brochures has generally been the less text, the better.
Yeah.
Let-
People.
Less is more.
Yeah,
But I don't think we need to formalize, exactly what we're doing until we've figured out sort of how much text we think we have and what pictures we think we might use.
yeah, okay, fair enough. So we'll leave it there just with a notation in the minutes
Mhm.
that you guys are going to bring draft text to the next meeting.
That sounds good. I will try to make sure October is quieter than September was.
Well, and do stay healthy. I mean, between your leg and COVID in your household.
Oh, you don't even know the big one. So it's all good.
I'm
But
glad you-
yeah, I didn't hear what you said. But yeah, October should be better than September.
Good, good. Well, that will be good news for sure. Okay. Then we move on to the discussion of the flow chart. We started on that last time, but didn't finish. And I think people still have some questions about the way the procedure is being handled. There seem to be an awful lot of steps in here. Kathy, did you want to make any comment about it? I can.
Well, I think we did last time. No, I mean, I think you've explained them all. There was really no way to omit any of them. Or to shorten it. It would be probably helpful to know where they all sit each time when they go in. Like, where are they all right now? Since they were at all different periods of time, and it's been how many months since the first one went in?
The first one went in last February.
Okay, so we have February, so.
Yeah, I think that, one of the things that, you wanted to review the flow chart. And so as soon as you review the flow chart and sign off, I will take the flow chart to the board of supervisors. Board of supervisors then can accept that as the procedure. Once they accept that as the procedure, then we can start these going through the process.
They get the whole thing.
And so that would be so that's kind of where we are with this, because that's what I understood kind of that you were looking for was the flow chart. I wanted to make sure that everybody understood the flow chart before we start going through the process. And that's what.
Do you guys have any questions about it?
No.
No.
Or any comments?
I mean, I know I got to clean up a little bit of the language on it, the way it was written. There was a couple of questions related particularly of the codes department's not denying something from an
Hey, guys,
applicant.
I'm sorry.
That's only you can kind of recommend denial. The codes department is sending it back if it's non-complete. And so I need to change that language and do that.
So it's the first time I see it. I just had a question. That's what we're talking about. I only ask who submits the application, who is responsible for submitting it, for initiating the process. Because it starts with application.
Yes, so I left that broad because the application can come from either you as the commission. It can even theoretically, I think the way I read the ordinance, it could even come from the board. The board itself could make a recommendation to you that there would be an application. And it can come from the property owner themselves. So it it really doesn't matter who starts the application, other than the ordinance kind of limits to one of those three. And then, at that point, then it goes through the process. But if you want me to list that it's those three, I don't mind listing those three.
No,
I
I
just,
was just curious, honestly.
yeah, that's the piece there.
It makes sense that those three parts can be involved. in it.
Yes.
Now, I have a question. Kathy's got my copies. I
Oh,
can't,
well,
no,
okay.
that's right.
To it?
That's all right.
I'm just.
And this occurs to me with what we're doing right now. Right now, we have 3 commission members who are each supposed to write up and present 3 properties between now and the end of the year. The way we're sort of set up right now, I mean, what we would have done in the past was they would have brought the properties. Somebody would have come into, let's say, today's meeting and
Yeah.
say, I am presenting X property, which we want to propose.
Yep.
And then it would go next month for a public hearing.
Yep.
But the way, since we have now approved all the 100 properties to go forward, we seem to have cut out that step and so I don't understand how we get from the commission members bringing the 3 properties that they're working on, to us. And at the same time, at the same meeting, having a public hearing on them.
The only way that can happen is if the commission member turns the application. You've said the list of 100+ properties are all eligible to come before you. So you've kind of eliminated the need for that purpose.
Right.
So if a commission, so whoever's doing those 3 properties, if they bring into the township with enough time for us to do the advance notice and all of those kind of things ahead of the commission meeting, we would then go ahead, process the application, put it on your agenda, so for you to hear. So it doesn't have to come back to you to go back to the township, as I understand the way what you did in that process. But until they get turned into the township, there's no action that's taken, because we have to, assuming that we would have to notify the property owner, unless the property owner's a joint applicant, then they would know.
Right.
But we still have to notify the property owner so they can come before you and give testimony on their end as well.
So, and how much time do you need? 2 weeks minimum?
I'd have to look at it again. I think that's where we talk about that. Is that one of the 28-day periods? I think that's one of the 28-day periods. And so if it's one of the 28-day periods, I think that's what the ordinance says. But I'll have to check that to verify that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the ones that we requested to move to 30 days.
Yes.
And I think that one was okay to move, because I mean, the state.
But right now it's 28. So
Right now it's 28,
Yeah.
yes. So in other words, if the commission members who have been working on properties want to bring something to the commission next month, they really need to notify you right after this meeting.
correct.
Okay. So there, here, and I do think, we have October, November, December. We only have 3 more meetings in this calendar year. So I think it behooves people to start moving on this. Our goal for this year was 8 properties. We've actually passed on 3 and had 1 deferral. If I'm remembering correctly.
I thought there were 4, but
Pardon?
I thought there were 4.
Well, there may be,
No, I can't remember.
well, the veterinarian's house, we deferred on. We passed the Horace Lewis
Lewis house.
house,
The mill workers house.
the mill workers
Friends
house,
meeting.
Friends meeting. And I think those were the three.
Well, I think there was also the Alice Grimm School.
Alice Grimm School.
Alice Groom School, yes, I'm sorry, there were four. Yeah, so there were four. So we need another four. And I would suggest if you can bring a property, one of your three properties. See, you have three, Kathy, you have three, I think, and is Chris the third person?
Actually,
It's Frank is the third person. If you're planning on doing that, please also let me know so that I can serve as traffic cop a little bit if we're starting to get 27 gazillion properties coming at us at the same time.
Mhm.
I mean, I can't believe that all three of you are going to say, got all three of my properties ready, which would give us 9 properties for the next meeting.
You could technically do that. You can use all the information's right here. That's how I do it. So, yeah, you could technically do it. I just didn't do it
Yeah.
because just
But
took a breather from it, but you
this is
could.
why I want to play traffic cop. So, if you could let me
The work's
know
been done.
before you submit to the township. Just so I can tell you if 27 gazillion other properties are coming up, I would appreciate it.
I have one more question about the, I'm reading here at one point that the Delaware County Planning Commission is part of this flow chart.
Yeah.
So the county also has a preservation office. Will they be able to initiate or promote to township preservation of any of this structure? Because you named just 3 possibilities, right? The owner, the supervisor.
I
and
mean,
this-
theoretically, I guess, I don't know for sure how that would fit in regards to typically we take applications from somebody within the township.
Okay,
You know, I mean, if the county came in and weighed in on one, I would think if you felt like it made sense, you would probably go ahead and move it forward.
okay.
But I don't know that they could be the applicant. I'd have to look. I mean, I get that I have to look at the ordinance again to verify that, because I'm not sure the ordinance would allow for a third party from the outside of the township to initiate the
Well,
process.
I don't know what the hierarchy is between you and the county, whether the county has jurisdiction over you or not. That's what I was asking.
The county typically does not have jurisdiction over the local municipality.
Okay,
That's one of the things that makes us a commonwealth in Pennsylvania, like as a Pennsylvania, you know, we have 2,600 plus different municipalities in Pennsylvania. And so it's, the county does, not saying the county doesn't have some authority, because it absolutely does. In certain things, the state code gives the county authority to do certain things. And if they're not, then the townships and the other municipalities may have rights to do those things. But if the county's doing it, they would supersede. But I don't think they can come in and say, this is how you're going to do this particular.
okay.
property.
No, I was curious.
Now, if
because-
they own the property, they for sure could.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
curious because you have the county planning commission in the loop, so they seems like they
Yeah.
have to approve something.
Yeah, so the county, again, the county planning commission is acting as an advisory group to the board of supervisors.
I see.
And they're just kind of like you all are. They're making a recommendation to the board, yes or no, based on what they review. So the county's preservation commission may weigh in when they see it on the county's agenda as, yes, we would want you to preserve this. I just don't know that they could be the starting point of the process. But I'll check with the solicitor and I'll look again at the ordinance and see what that means. For sure, if they were the owner, there's no question.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but to just come in as an outside third party and say, we want to do this, I don't know that they have that authority.
Well, even if they did want to put a property forward, we could probably make the application on their behalf.
Well, that's what I was asking, if
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
if they come to the township saying, the preservation officer who wants to preserve these, it could come through us. And that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I would argue that you for sure can put it forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions on this?
So the one thing that I would like is if you all are, I'm maybe not in agreement, but at least in understanding of the flow chart, that I can take it back to the board and move us forward.
Mhm.
I would like to do that at their next meeting,
Mhm.
but I just needed you guys to sign off on it. You wanted some more time to weigh in, but so I didn't want to take it back to them until you did.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for a motion. Does somebody want to move to accept the flow chart?
I'll move to accept the flow chart.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's accepted. May I have it, my copy?
Oh, yes,
back?
that's your,
Yeah.
and the other person.
Okay. There is no public comment since we have no public. So items for the next meeting. Items for the next meeting will include
9 houses.
Well, at least an update on the 9 possible houses.
Marketing material.
marketing materials. Yes. And somebody should present, we should have at least one property presented.
Has anyone submitted a property?
On their own?
Pardon?
No.
Well, we don't have to present a property until the application's been submitted and
Well, the thing is, we have to get it. We need to have a property presented at the next meeting, which means somebody needs to get an application into the township in the
Okay.
next couple of
Doesn't have to
days.
be a new one of the
New
9
one.
that we already have.
Yeah.
chosen. We'll take it. easy. No
And so
objection one.
if we put it in the minutes as at least one property, we won't have all 9, but hopefully we'll have at least one. And that will enable us to see how we can push this forward. Frank, you can write yours up between looking at sexy cars.
Yeah, well, I could write it up and find out how to get that book in my.
We have a
How?
PDF of it.
Yeah,
Send the PDF.
She sent it over and I don't have it. Lost
And
it.
I gave you hard copies last
If you
time.
only gave me 1 page in there.
Which property was it? Just ask me afterward and you can.
I looked at the house, I took the pictures and I have to get them out of my camera. I'm not a techie.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a techie.
I'll go over it with
Yeah.
you afterward. It's not-
give me
it's
your,
not
well, email
hard.
it.
The problem that we have is that homeowners don't even know they have to apply. So that is a major obstacle.
Well,
If you
that's-
don't know you have to apply, or you don't know that you weren't included in the ordinance, because initially I reached out to all the homeowners asking if they had objection to being included into the ordinance. So their assumption may be that they are already in there, because that was how it was presented. So at this point, they do not know that they have to apply. So from the Historical Society's perspective, we can send a letter explaining the process and
Well, I would think that would come from the Historic Commission.
now, as the Historical Society, I was the one who initially.
I understand, but
Homeowners.
it's now, this is a Historic Commission process. And it's coming through the township. If you want to send something out at this point, I would have it come from you all as the Historic Commission to property owners that they can apply. Because they come before you. And I mean, I'm just saying that you are the group that's the authority, not the Historic Society.
Correct, but as the Historical Society, we have a different way of approaching homeowners. Basically, a historic homeowner, you were designated in the historic inventory, and we have identified you through the Historical Society as a historic resource. And then just give an objective. There was an ordinance passed, we did application to, but you must submit an application to be
But I
included in
think what
that.
I'm saying is that
See, I
the
can say it
Historic
in a
Commission
different way.
has that authority on its own as
Mhm.
well. And you are the authority that would actually move them forward. So that's my only comment.
I may have a suggestion, maybe. Stephen, I don't know a whole lot about your process for notifying owners, but do you do that in writing? When we're going to have a public hearing, do you notify the owners in writing?
I wrote a
Absolutely.
letter.
Okay, I
Everybody
think what
wants
should,
on her
what
feet.
should go with that notification is a letter which maybe Kathy can draft.
But I think
Go on
Kathy's
her
asking-
signature, explaining the change in the process. See what I mean?
Just explaining, yes, the
Yes.
process.
So that homeowners who had been notified by the Historical Society before would get an explanation from us, written by the Historical Society person, explaining what the change is,
Okay,
you
we
know,
do that.
yeah.
Okay.
And that way, I think that gets us,
Now, as
Sort
the
of out of-
historic commission, can we include an application?
pardon?
As the historic commission, can we include an application in these letters?
No, because the application's already been made by us. This is the letter that goes to the owner.
No, I'm
notifying-
talking about all the owners that I sent originally. It's 80 of them. I'm talking about all the ones that haven't been.
Well, that would be a separate project.
That's what I'm talking about, that they have to know, all the historic
Why don't
homeowners
we put that?
have to
on-
know that they're not in this ordinance.
why
They've
don't we
never
put
been
that
put
on-
in this
Why don't we put
ordinance.
that on the agenda for next month to talk about?
And you can offer them, here, these are the applications.
Yeah, if they do it
Yeah.
themselves, wouldn't that be so much
Yes.
better? If they knew that they had to
Yes,
do it,
and that's the
right?
problem. They don't know that they can, or even if they want to object, but they'll, as I said, first time around, I didn't get any
Yeah,
objections.
well,
Some of
it
them
would
don't
be,
even know that they are on that inventory at all. They don't
No.
even, they don't have awareness that they have a house which can be.
I mean, I did my
involved.
best.
Yeah.
I went door to door, the ones who didn't get them from
Okay.
me. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And some people are worthy of going door to door to it. And have done that. So they respond very well to
Yeah.
that.
okay. Well, I think, so
So put that
Kathy,
down for next
I
time.
got it.
yeah, but Kathy, if you can draft the letter that goes out with the township notification to the owners of the properties that we're going to do for next month. That needs to be done quickly.
She's, no, we had a letter. She's saying in addition to that letter, a note from the historical.
Explaining why
this is- why
yes.
the application is needing
Right.
to be.
Yeah. Explaining the
Completed.
change in procedure.
Right.
So Stephen, should that go to Heather or to you?
Should go to Heather.
Okay,
I mean, I'll review it, but to make sure that it's moving through the process, I want it to go to Heather.
and when you send it to Heather, Kathy, could you copy me on it, just so I don't get blindsided going down the pike?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to put on the agenda? In that case, we're done. Would somebody like to move to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting.
Okay, Rosario seconds. All in favor?
I.
Chris, thank you for hanging in with us.